Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. I am your host, Stevie Grant, and I'm joined here with Jonathan, and we're going to be previewing the Everton match at Southampton on Saturday. And you're going to stay tuned for news of the team news, form, prediction, odds, and we're going to be looking ahead to the big match at the weekend. So we want to hear from you. It's a very interactive show, and I'm delighted that Jon is joining me. Jon, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm very
Pleasure
well,
to be back
thanks.
on.
That's great. I'm really glad that you're on, Jon, and it's always good to have a good chat about Everton. Now, we're looking ahead to the match against Southampton, and Everton obviously coming into this match having dispatched Leeds at Goodison Park at the weekend, 3-0. What are you most excited about seeing on Saturday? Oh, it does look like we might have lost connection with Jon. So while we're trying to connect with Jon there, I will take you through some aspects of the form guide. So Everton play Southampton, and sort of the overall picture against Southampton is that we've played them 45 times with 12 draws. Everton coming out slightly favourable with 20 wins versus Southampton's 13 wins. Everton have won 16 at home versus Southampton's 12. And Everton have won 4 times on their travel versus Southampton's single time. I'm sure we'll be joined by Jon again. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are pushing on for 1,000 followers, and everything is going superb with our Follow Everton channel. Gonna bring back in Jon.
Sorry about that. Poor
Connection.
But we're back. We're back.
Yeah, sorry. That's really good. I was just telling everyone there's a bit of crackling on the line. Only here on Follow Everton do you get crackling and cats. I was just, yeah. So we're getting a bit of feedback. But what I was saying, Jon, was it's a big match on Saturday. What are you most looking forward to seeing when Everton cross that white line?
I want to see us moving forward with a bit of a pace, a bit of attitude up front, and really get set in the game early on. I want to see us walk out the tunnel with our head ready and in the game, because too often have we seen Everton players, they'll walk out and will concede early on because they're not ready for it. We need to be up for this game. We had a clean sheet for the first time in a very long time last game. I would want to see the same again. And I know Southampton are a very big threat. And it's going to be difficult, especially when they're coming forward. We need to stay tight to the players. But I want to see us try and keep a clean sheet, and I want to get them early on, and I want to push from the get-go.
That's good to know. Okay, so we had a press conference earlier on today. If you didn't catch it, Lampard was full of praise for Iwobi and Donny van de Beek. He said, "I'm very pleased, impressed with that Van de Beek. On a pro level, absolutely impressed with his fitness and sharpness." Now, we did see his debut against Leeds, and we are very excited about the prospects of him lining up. Frank Lampard also was quick to praise Iwobi, saying he could run another 90 minutes. And I think the player looks reborn, but what Everton haven't done this season, Jon, is they've not put together any consistency. So this was definitely our best performance, but it needs to be followed up.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, those two players, if we look at Donny van de Beek first, he had 89.5% pass accuracy, 51 touches, 10 ball recoveries, 7 duels won, 6 possessions won in the middle of the third, 4 tackles made, 3 aerial duels won, 1 interception, and 1 chance created. So all of those are crucial. And I think we've had Decore in the past, and I think he played a really important role in strengthening the team, not only going forward, but also helping in defence. And I think obviously Decore has been injured and it hasn't really been playing too well when he has compared to how he was in the beginning of the season. But I think to have a player like Donny van de Beek there not only can replace someone as quality as Decore, but can also like help when they work together. Obviously, it would be good to see Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison back together when they can work, because I think, again, as you said, the team is quite disfragmented, and obviously it's been pretty poor attitudes around the dressing room. Obviously Benitez wasn't helping, so hopefully with Lampard there, they'll be able to retry and connect the players and get them back working close chemistry, because I think where we've lacked in the past is our defense is pretty weak, and they don't seem to know where each other are on the pitch, which obviously leads to either Coleman or Michael Keane, who have been kind of struggling recently, and they're not watching the lines and the balls are getting through, and I think that's where we struggle. So again, to have this chemistry with Donny van de Beek and Decore, I think that will really strengthen up the team. And you also mentioned Iwobi, and he actually probably had one of the best performances he's had at our club. And hopefully, again, it'll be something which we can see and continue and work on. But yeah, fair play to him, because obviously round the ground, like when the players are coming on and they're going, number one, Jordan Pickford, and we're going through it. Whenever it gets to Iwobi, there are a few boos around the stadium, him and Sandro. So hopefully they'll change that attitude around him. That's
great. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your predictions are for the match against Southampton. WinViz has Everton at 28%. Obviously, we'd be more biased than that on this channel. The draw's at 26 and Southampton 46. Do you think that's a fair summary, John, or do you think that Everton can go there and get all 3 points?
I think any result we can get a win. It just depends what type of Everton team works up. If we're turning up with the team and the attitude of how we played against Leeds, then I can see us getting, as I said, get a quick goal, change the tactics. We need to move as a fluid team. So it's not out of reach. A draw would again be a good result, just keep us going up. But I think with Lampard in and a new positive, it's much better around the stadium and people feel a lot more positive. So hopefully we can turn this into something as opposed to just a one-off thing, because we do need to string some results together.
Yeah, absolutely. And the match at Goodison ended 3-1 to Everton, actually. Richarlison, Decore and Dominic Calvert-Lewin scoring. Armstrong scored for the Southampton side, and that's positive, but of course is fairly meaningless with a new manager and so many changes that have happened. But it does mean that Everton can get the better off Southampton, who sit in 10th place in the Premier League on 29 points. Everton obviously lie a few points below them in 16th with 22 points. However, we do have 2 matches in hand. In the conference earlier, we mentioned about how Lampard was full of praise. He did give us some injury boost news in that Damari Gray is on his way back and may well feature with Decore against Man City, and that's a week on Saturday, the 26th, with a 5:30 kickoff. It looks like Mykolenko is going to be back into the fold. And do you think he's going to go into the starting lineup, John?
He's had a bit of a shaky start since he's come to the club. He hasn't made the impact I would have liked him to see. But once again, I think it's difficult to say, because there's been a very disfragmented organisation under Benitez. Again, I'm very positive about Lampard coming in to change the attitude. I think he did mention that he was having some special training just on his own to try and incorporate him into the squad. So hopefully we can see him in. And again, like Iwobi, who necessarily hasn't shown his ability since he's been at the club, hopefully he can come in as well and be able to do that.
Yeah, Iwobi does look like he might have turned the corner, and hopefully he can play as he did against Leeds on Saturday. So we're looking at predictive team maybe of Pickford, Coleman, Holgate, Keane and Mykolenko, with Allen, Van der Beek, Iwobi and Gordon, and Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. How do you think they would line up? Do you think that would be a 4-4-2? Or do you think that maybe Richarlison might sit a little bit deeper away from home?
I would like to see something else now that, again, we're kind of starting afresh. I would like to see maybe more of a cam role as opposed to just a flat 4-4-2. Maybe push Dele Alli more forward, and then he can provide the central support that we need to link up with like whoever's up front. So Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, whoever we've got. But to be able to have those those 3 work in a triangle, and then maybe have Donny van de Beek as centre mid and Decore as centre mid. They can cover going forward and back and alternate. And again, that's where the communication rotation comes in. But then if they can have Dele Alli playing a more forward role and then provide it, because again, in the past, we've been going down the wings quite a lot, but we've become too predictable. So if we can, like Alan and Richarlison had a very good link-up play a few games back. So to play the ball over the top or through, that's the kind of creativity and momentum we need going forward. So I'd like to see not a flat 4-4-2, but then also incorporate the wings in and like get stuff moving around the box. And I think we could have a much more fluid game as opposed to static, boring passing around the back sort of match.
Yeah, you're right. Everton became far too predictable and everyone managed to play around them. This team almost picks itself, though, with the injuries. Godfrey looks like he's about 2 to 3 weeks away, according to Lampard. And it's maybe only right back that could be up for grabs. I mean, it looks like you can't drop Gordon on his form. Certainly not Allen and Van der Beek. And Iwobi can't be dropped on the last match. And you're struggling to think, well, this is good. This is a team that's now picking itself. But you rightly say that, you know, the good news is in the future is that Dele Alli will be able to come in. He's clearly not match fit at the moment, and I don't think he is going to be in the starting berth for a good number of weeks. But it's great because if we go back a few weeks ago and on this very channel, we were talking about how, you know, we're struggling to even put a team out that was worthy of getting a draw for some matches. This now is a team that if they play like they do against Leeds, I mean, you would think Everton will come away with all 3 points. But as we well know, it just doesn't always pan out that. The odds on that note, Everton are 5-2 to win the match. Southampton pretty much evens 21-20, draws 12-5. Yeah, it's going to be a tough ask. But what Everton need to do is just put together some form now. John, it's
yeah, I think we can't forget that Southampton have been in a very, very good run of form, and especially away from home. If we look at their 10th in the league, from 13 from 13, but we're only 6 from 11. And I think our away fans really need to be vocal, be loud, put them under pressure. We can't give them an easy ride because then we will crumble. But I think we all need to be loud, get behind them, think positively. And it's going to be a difficult game, but if we play well and communicate, then we do have a fighting chance.
I mean, Ralph Hasselholt set up his team. They've only lost 7 of their 24 matches this year. They've had a lot of draws, 11 draws, which is one of the reasons why.
But if you look at their last 5 results as well, the draw was against Man United. They beat Spurs 3-2. They drew to Man City 1-0. Lost to Wolves and then beat Brentford 4-1. So from the last 5 games, if that was Everton, I would be absolutely buzzing. Like, that's 2 of the top 4 teams and then very good teams as well. So
they're definitely going into this in better form. John, you're right. Their strikers, Broja, Che Adams and Armstrong, are all around about the 4.5, 5-1 mark to hit the net. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is 5-1. Shane Long is 6-1, as is Richarlison. I mean, they've got a good team. They're at home, but they're facing a very upbeat Everton side, and we've got that Frank factor. And what we've seen in the past is a new manager comes in to Everton and other clubs, does extremely well, and then it sort of tailors off. And do you think that's going to be the case this time? Or do you think Frank can keep?
I'm excited to see what he can do. Obviously, we've had a very bad run of managers, bad attitude or bad mentality. So I do want to see a lasting commitment here. Obviously, Lampard has the potential. I hope he does very well with us, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself because obviously we've just had it's a good result. Don't get me wrong. It was a 6-pointer and it was a needed to win, but I don't want to get over excited about like a Leeds win when we've got much tougher fixtures coming up and we also need to carry on this momentum. So I'll wait to get excited at like when we start pulling more results together, like 3 or 4 wins. But I do feel like there's a very good atmosphere going around and hopefully we can carry that into the future games as well.
That's great. I think the referee for this match is Andy Madley, and we really hope that it's a competitive match and that Everton come out fighting in the same way that they did against Leeds. There's one sort of bit of news that's come in today regarding Omar Niasse. I don't know whether you know about this, John, but he has actually transferred himself. Well, he's been signed by League One side Burton Albion. This is the striker that joined Everton from Lokomotiv Moscow for £13.5 million, and of course, Niasse became a bit of a cult hero in the fact that he got so few games and then came on as sub, scoring a few goals along the way, but has now ended up in the League One side. I mean, what do you make of this, John?
Oumar Niasse.
Do you think that's where he always belonged, or do you think
Oumar Niasse?
Yeah, I mean, it's just in a
I think there were a few games where I saw him and I was like, you know what, there could be something here. But to be honest, I never think he did anything worthy at the club. I feel like it was time for him to move on with us. I didn't see him fitting anymore. I hope Iwobi is not the same because we overly paid for him by a ridiculous amount. But hopefully he can turn into something. But I would not want to see him back at our club. I don't think he's Premiership quality.
No, but if you were given a choice between Niasse and Rondon, who would you put in if there was an injury to Calvert-Lewin?
I would rather play a man red card in 10 men. I don't think either of them offer it. But if I was to pick, I'd pick Rondon. I think the performance he put in against Liverpool at the derby was an incredible performance from him, and he was probably the best player on the pitch. And he was fighting for every ball, jumping at it. And that's the kind of thing we need to see more often, and by all players. They need to have that. I know a derby is obviously different, and the level of expectation is obviously greater. But I think we need people to challenge in and not be afraid for the ball. We need to have that aggression and fight for it. Football is a fight for the ball. We need to actually go and, be more aggressive in our play.
Yeah, I'm sure Frank wants Everton to go out and play like they did against Leeds every week. Obviously, we have the crowd on our side, and that could be a big factor when they play Man City, because on paper, that's a match that you couldn't really see Everton getting anything from a few weeks ago. But now you'd like to think that maybe we can get a draw or a win at Southampton and possibly get a draw against Man City, or even see if we can do something out of the ordinary, because the way they're playing, winning 5-0 in the Champions League.
I think what we need to focus on is that we've played a good game against Leeds and there was quality there. We need to work on consistency and make sure we are playing the same game week in, week out. Not necessarily the same plays, because again, we don't want to be predictable, but we need to have that creativity in all elements and aspects of the game. And we need to, if we can show that level of potential here, there's no reason why we can't go to any other club and play the exact same. We need to be able to be up for it. And it's a big mental game, but that's what the players need to show.
And the match, we should be taking one match at a time, but City's a hard game. Let's not beat around the bush, and they still need to keep winning to fight off the other side. But Everton then play a 5th round tie against Boreham Wood, go to Tottenham, then play Wolves at home, Watford away, West Ham away, and then play Man U. There's a few games in there where Everton.
And if you look towards the end of the fixtures as well, though, there's a lot of hard games, so we need to make sure we get our points in. However, when you say that we have I want to talk specifically about like the next 3 or 4 games. We go to City, we have the Boreham Wood Cup game, and we have Spurs. In my opinion, and this might be a bit controversial, so bear with, I would put our weaker side. I would play a full strength team against Southampton. I would play a youth squad, so not a weakened squad, but I want to introduce new players in against City. And our goal difference right now is like pretty much well above anyone else that would be battling relegation. I want to keep that in the back of our mind. So I wouldn't actually care if we lost against City. I want to see the performance the youth played against Chelsea when we had a lot of injuries was a phenomenal performance. And if they could play that against City, I would happily incorporate some of them in and try and give this team a place to gel. So I would play a youth or weakened side against City. I would play a full strength team against Boreham Wood. And I want to see us absolutely destroy them in the first 20 minutes, go at them, score as many as we can, and then I would take off our main players and inject some youth into it and change it up. And then hopefully they'll be rested by the time we play Spurs, and again play a full strength team where we could probably get a point or maybe even 3. So I wouldn't get my hopes up for City. I want to see us win the cup. We haven't won a trophy since I was before I was born. I was born in 2001. I've been deprived of a trophy. So I want to see us win something and change before we get into the new stadium, and it'll be all fresh. Players will want to come to us. It'll be exciting. So I would play weekend against City because realistically our chances aren't great. But in the rest, really push home and get those wins.
Yeah, and obviously the match against Boreham Wood is a bit of a spanner in the works because on paper they should beat Boreham Wood, but we saw them in the last round, and I don't think we can take anything for granted.
I'm actually a Barnet fan, and Barnet and Boreham Wood are quite big rivals, and I'm a Barnet fan, so I want us to win.
There's a double whammy.
Yeah, so this is really going to hurt if something happens, but we should be good. We need to not play a weakened side, and I'm sick and tired of managers doing this. I'm very well aware that it's Boreham Wood, but why would you put yourself in a disadvantaged position? Wait for them. All it takes is one mistake for our defenders not to be clicked on. They could come home and hammer it, and then we're really in the mud. We need to go out, score the goals, and then we can take the foot off the accelerator, but we need to get going first.
Just going through the comments now. Ian Clark says it's really hard to play with that intensity again in a way. To be honest, I'd be happy with a point. I mean, yes, I think so. I've written down my prediction and I don't often get it wrong. I've put 1-1. I usually get the score right here or there, which is 11-2, by the way. John, I think you're right. I think that Everton do need to introduce youth, but they're not surely going to lie down when City come to Goodison based on the atmosphere last week. I mean, everyone will be up for it.
Yeah, but as in, I don't mean play a weakened side. I just want to see something, so somewhere we can have a channel for creativity or get something going. Because again, we don't want to be the predictable Everton team. We'll score one,
mix it up
3-1 or something. Yeah, I want to see the creativity, and we've got new players coming in, so I want to see how they react. And I think again, the atmosphere. Playing with good football, they'll bounce off each other, and each one will keep improving it. So that's how we get the good games. We need to be loud and vocal, but we need to see something new, get excited about.
I'm sure Frank will have their feet in the ground as far as prioritising this match, but they will have an eye on the fact that Everton won't get an easier path to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup than a home match against.
The only thing is, we're not fighting Man City. We're not challenging for anything. We're pretty much avoiding relegation. I want to be realistic. So I think we could sacrifice that in the chance of going through and winning a cup, because I would imagine if we're fighting away at the bottom, we win City, but then we get knocked out. Beating City is not what's going to stop us from getting relegated, but winning a cup can do so much more than that.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make as to whether we should prioritise basically getting out of jail or trying to sort of do really well in the cup. I mean, it'd be interesting.
The games in hand, though, that we have are against Burnley, who are bottom, and it's also against Newcastle. So both of those are much more important games, and winning either one of those two, realistically, we need both. But that would be the get out of jail free card, and I think that would help the team a lot more, and then we can focus on winning in the cup. What do you think, everyone? What do you think?
Yeah, it'd be really great to get your views, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as Follow Everton pushes on for 1,000 subscribers, which means that it's really important because the YouTube algorithm will start pushing us out to all different places, and we'll pick up lots more subscribers. So yeah, just to recap, if you've only just joined us, Everton play Southampton. It's a 3:00 kickoff on Saturday. Everton at 28% win probability, and the team news means that it'll just be Mikolenko, probably the only player that can come back from injury, with the long-term absentee being Ben Godfrey. There are other players out, of course, that we haven't mentioned. We've still got Davis and Delph out the squad. I mean, I don't think on the performance of the current midfield that they would get anywhere near the side, but pushing on the door. Obviously, we do have a stronger bench now, John, than several months ago, and I think that it was the strongest bench that I've seen in a while against Leeds. He has strengthened, and it would be good to see what we can do in the transfer window. But they're knocking on the door, aren't they? These subs, and overall, you need a strong squad to compete in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think the main reason why we've played so poorly is because when you have so many injuries, there's no risk about being put in the team. I want to be. This is why I would like to see the youth squad introduced as well, because if they start putting in performances and people are excited to see them, then it's going to put pressure on the main team to perform well. And I think, again, it's a bit off topic, but you'll see how it relates. You have Messi and Ronaldo, who are arguably the best two people in football. Neither of them yet have retired, although they could have done anyway, because they're not anywhere near they were in their prime. They're still obviously very good, but the reason they still compete is because the other one is, and they always have a thing saying Ronaldo wanted to win more golden boots than Messi did, or Ballon d'Ors. So I think they keep pushing each other up, and they thrive off each other's performances. So I want to see the same thing with Everton. The youth come in, they start, each player needs to fight for their position in the team, and that's how we get better performances, because everyone's going to work together and fight for the one goal. So we really need to. It's about chemistry and working together. But
we did see that team performance on Saturday, but it's not something that we've seen very often.
Exactly, but this is what we need to change, and we need to actually implement it into our consistency and get going.
So, John, what is your prediction for the match against Southampton? Where do you see this one going?
It's an interesting question. I am going to go with 2-2 because I think we're going to score, but they are a very strong team and in form as well. So I think it's going to be a decently high scoring game. Hopefully we could either win it, we could win it 2-1. And this is what I want to see, like either a clean sheet, or we can play well in defence, stick tight to the man, and not that, because they have a very dangerous aerial threat with whipping the ball in. Their crosses are very accurate. So if we can defend that, stick well to the player and be on our toes for it, then hopefully we can win it. But I would love to see at least a draw.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the way it's going, and I think everyone would love to come away from that 6-hour return journey. If you're making the trip to Southampton, we want to hear from you. We'll be doing a match review straight after the final whistle to basically share our views on how it went as raw as possible, and we will be joined on Saturday by Ryan and Mabsy and Basil, and the match will be dissected in full and in raw format here on Follow Everton. John, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the midweek show to preview the Southampton match, and I look forward to our next gathering. So it's been a really nice half hour where we've previewed the match, and we now are handing it over to the Toffees to do the business as they make the trip up to Southampton for the big game on Saturday. It's a 3:00 kickoff, so it's not strictly speaking televised, although there are other routes, and of course commentary on the Everton website. And we'll see you after the final whistle. So from me, Stevie and John, it's a very good night from now.
Up the Toffees.